Good evening, everyone. Oh, I'm getting some strange messages, so let me just get through that. Next. Okay. We're not going to do that. Look at all of this fun stuff. That's view requests done. Okay. Hattie joined. There we go. Got a whole bunch of new stuff going on here.
Oh, okay, there we go.
Hey, sis. Sorry about that.
Are you there?
Mhm.
That's okay. See if I can get the camera set. Okay, yeah, there you can see me. Okay.
Yeah. Sorry, Instagram must have some new live things because I had to like go through like a bunch of like, here's this and here's this. And I'm like, I don't care about that. Don't care about that. But you know how it goes.
Thanks. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just make your life real easy, I'm sure.
Yes, I am 100% sure that is exactly what they're going to do. Make my life super easy.
Tried to put my books behind me so you could see them, but like when it's only half screen, it's like tiny. I don't think you can even see them.
I'm really proud of myself. First off, do you see my
I know, because you have such a pretty background, and like I tried, but you can't even see mine.
And I was like, hey, you'll be so proud. I even got a green glass to match.
Oh my God.
I know.
Like,
I know.
you are like, you got your green outfit on, your green glass, your green flowers that look really great. Your hair looks amazing, by the way. Did you just get it done?
I just got it done on Thursday. No, Friday. Yeah. Friday morning she did it. And so, yeah.
It looks,
color is amazing.
I love it when it's so fresh and bright. It looks so good.
Well, it makes my face so much brighter, too, which is delightful. So,
I know. When I have such crappy lighting in here, I always look like Dolesville next to you, because wherever you set up, you have really good lighting, and mine's just like shit.
Well, usually I set up on my front porch, which I do have great lighting at this time of day. Like, it's fantastic, but it's too hot out there today. So I did have to set up in my corner in the living room. So if we do have a screaming child run through, Lionel is supposed to keep them in the basement, but we'll see how that happens. But I have my ring light at home now. So
that helps.
That helps with the lighting. Yeah.
Well, and I can turn this lamp on, but I think it's going to be like more garish. Is that better or worse? See, that looks weirder to me.
It's really up to you, Hattie. How do you feel? You also have been sick for a week, so I feel like,
I know. I'm not fussed. I don't want to fuss over it. It doesn't matter that much, but it's also just like, okay, you're so bright and like lively, and I look a little bit like I've been sick for a week.
Let's be clear. One, I just had my hair done on Friday. Two, it's Sunday, so I put makeup on, which most of the time I do not do.
True.
And three, I did actually have a different dress on, but I'm like, I am not wearing that dress until 7. So I did have to change, but I did wear this necklace to church. So,
yeah.
Which
should be a little like,
a
little boom. It looks good. I like it.
So, you have the time on your thing. Is it?
Yeah, it's 8 o'clock. It's just exactly 8 o'clock.
Okay, 8 o'clock.
Well, 7 o'clock.
So anyway, we'll just kind of jump in then, if that's okay with you.
Yeah, let's do it. Super. Absolutely.
Well, first, for anybody who's going to watch us now or later, welcome and thanks for joining the Book War. One more time, I'm Hannah, and I live in Minnesota, outside the Twin Cities. I am a pastor, part-time pastor, full-time mom and wife, and just love books and a full-blown bibliophile. As I went to the bookstore on my way home from work today. But Hattie, how about you?
Yeah, so I'm Hattie Bergstrom. I am Hannah's older sister, and I live just north of Philadelphia. And I am a instructor of theology at St. Catherine's University. I teach online for them. They're actually in Minneapolis, St. Paul, but I live out here, so I teach online for them for theology. And I am not I'm going to say I'm not as bad as Hannah. About
You're not even close.
Stuff.
The bibliophile part, you are not.
Yeah. I've been like really proud of myself over the last like year and a half, and like again this year, for finding the library. Yeah. The public library has saved my apartment from being overrun by books.
Yeah.
So thank the Lord for the public library.
And you were
it's amazing.
Actively working to not buy the physical books to have like for minimalism, because you do have it apart, like for lots of different reasons, but
lots of different reasons. Yeah. I mean, there's like the whole like, yeah, environmental stuff, but there's also like, I live in an apartment,
Right.
you know, like it's a townhouse, there's plenty of space, but if you fill it up with books the way my dad and my sister do, you're going to be like living in a pile of books.
I don't understand what the problem with that is, but that's fine.
So anyway, yes. So the public library has been a blessing for me. So absolutely, if you love reading books and you don't want to spend a ton of money on it, I totally get that.
Yeah, completely get that.
Find your public library. They're amazing, and they can get you just about anything
Yeah.
that's like out in the world. It's great.
They're great.
Yeah.
So if you have been following us, or if you subscribe to our newsletter, you would know that today we are for July's first Biblio Talk. We are to be talking about this beach read, A Faux Love Story, by Lo and Lay, or Lee Lay. I'd say it's Lay. But we're not going to, because I tried to start it like 3 times, and it's not a tough book. It's not a hard book. I just was not in the headspace to read it. And you know what? That is part of reading. You say, this is what I'm going to read. And then sometimes you're like, no, I don't want to read that. And I did not know when I picked it, not that it mattered, but it is also YA. And I like YA. My beloved sister does not care for YA. And we read YA last month, Felix Ever After, which was great, but so we didn't read it. But I'm sure it's a great book. I do not think this is no commentary on the book itself. Let me just be clear. It was on a list of like best romances, I think, of like best beach read romances of 2021, 2022 is on. I found it on Goodreads, that list, but it was on there. It was one of the few I hadn't read yet. Yeah, it was a long list, and I read most of them, but we just didn't read it because I didn't want to. I kept trying, and I think I got through like the 3rd chapter, and I'm just like, I don't. This isn't. I'm just not here right now, and I just don't want to read this right now. So I put it down. So we're not going to talk about that. So instead, for our first July Biblio Talk, do you have the book for our second Biblio Talk, sis, with you?
I do not have that one.
I will grab it in a minute. Okay. I knew I was forgetting something, and I just remembered what that was. But so instead, for our first July Biblio Talk, we're just going to talk about the books that we're currently reading and loving and enjoying. And so, Hattie, I'm going to let you actually go first on this, because I think we mentioned at the beginning, Hattie's been sick this last week, and so I think you've had some good reading time.
I've had some time. And thankfully, again, I went to the library and got a big stack of books to hold me over. So I and my husband have been hunkered down in quarantine this week with COVID. Thankfully, today we are both feeling much better. I still have a little bit in my head. I don't know, Hannah might be able to hear it a little bit, but
a little bit,
just a tiny bit. It's pretty much, we're at like the tail end of it. Thank goodness. He's gonna go back to work tomorrow, and life is getting back to normal out here. But the library is brilliant.
Yes, they are.
And I've already read one book that I got at the library like on Wednesday. I'm halfway through the next one. So this one is called Moonlight and the Pearler's Daughter. So this is that, as Hannah knows, I love historical fiction. Yeah, the cover's gorgeous. It's getting a weird glare, but
really pretty.
And Hannah, you would actually appreciate this. This one is in Australia. It's an Australian one.
Ooh, you'll have to like send me the name of that one. I'll have to get that. That sounds really. I meant already. You know me and all.
It wasn't my most favorite. I will say it wasn't my most favorite. And it's not because it was Australian. It was actually like a kind of a good story. It was about this young woman and her dad gets lost at sea. He's the pearler. And so it's sort of like this. She's like investigating, trying to figure out what happened to him, and then eventually she like goes out on into the Moonlight is the name of her boat that she finally takes to go search for her dad. So I'm not going to give anything away. But the story was like very intriguing and it was really quite good. The thing that kind of annoyed me about this book, though, is the author. It felt like the author was like trying to, I'm just going to say it this way because this is how it felt.
Okay.
This is probably not what was really going on, but this is how it felt when I was reading it. That she was like trying to show off her ability to like throw out Australian lingo.
Oh, okay.
So there was like all these words that you'd be going along and then there'd be like a couple sentences with words in them that you're like, I don't know that word. Like, what's that word? And she wouldn't explain, she wouldn't give enough context, you know, like if it was like the name of some bird or the name of some like animal or rodent. Like there wasn't enough context in her writing to actually like deduce, you know, what these things were. And there was tons of lingo around pearling, right? Like, who knows pearling lingo? Nobody. Does anybody know what a lugger is? No, nobody. Anyway, so there's all this lingo that kind of annoyed
Yeah.
me, because it wasn't very well. She didn't provide enough context so that you could figure out what it was
was
that
going
you were
on.
reading.
Right.
And it's like, I am not going to look up a ton of like lingo words
Fair.
for purling
Well,
while I'm reading this, like, you know, historical fiction.
Fair enough.
Stuff.
Fair enough.
Yeah. So I did finish it, and it was like the story part was really quite good. It was intriguing. It was a good little story, but that just sort of annoyed me. You know, as I was kind of like going along, I was like, enough with the lingo already. We get it. You know, some words, like whatever. You know.
Well, at least put it in context for those of your readers who don't know anything about purling. And if it's for a wider breadth than Australians, then yeah, that would also help with some of that particular lexicon.
So unless your audience is like purlers from Australia,
context.
You have to give a little context.
Yeah.
Yep. So what about you, Han?
Oh, Hattie, you're gonna be so proud of me. You should be so proud of me right now. So, again, if you've been following us, many of you will know that I do not read big fatty books. It is not my thing. It is Hattie's thing. She loves a good fatty book. I do not love a good fatty book. I am currently in the middle of not one, but two fatties.
What?
That's right.
Okay, but are they huge print?
Nope, they're normal. They are like normal.
Normal, you're right.
And they are not YA either. Normal. Yep, neither one of them are YA. So, I think I'm going to talk about this one first. It's called Ordinary Monsters by J.R. Miro, a novel. I picked it up at the Half Price bookstore the other day. It's a new book. I didn't get it for half price. But just to be clear, but I picked it up at that store. And it took me a long time to actually buy it because I picked it up and I put it down and I picked it up and I put it down because it's written by a white man, which is fine, totally fine. But I tend not to purchase books. I just tend not to use my purchasing power for white men. But the jacket was so intriguing. And this is the best way I can describe this book. And you are going to like this book, I think, a lot. But it is a cross between X-Men. He might really hate me saying this, by the way. But to me, it's a cross between X-Men and Hogwarts and Harry Potter, but set in 19th century London. So like, you know, the Sherlock Holmes, that whole part of, but it's in London, but it's not in London. It's in Scotland and it's in America. And there's a school that these kids are being found by detectives. One's a Pinkerton, trained by Pinkertons. I think one of the things when I said it is just like broiling with atmosphere. And it's so true. Like everything is just so atmospheric. But it's kids and they have these special talents, they're called, and most of them end up to be orphans. And so these detectives are going out to find them and bring them to this school. Carnwald, I think is what it's called, Carnwald. And it's really fun and really interesting, but it's dark. It's like super dark, like dark. But I'm really enjoying it. And I was actually telling our friend Amy yesterday about it. I go, and actually, now that I'm thinking about it, it's actually pretty slow. It's like a pretty slow moving in many ways, but the characters are so interesting and complex. And he writes in a way that doesn't make me like bored by their complexity. Like I feel like, but how did they get there? And like, how did they get there? And like, so and he's kind of jumping through time a little bit as well. And so it's really very, very, very good. And I have no idea where it's going. I have like no idea. Like I'm a little bit over halfway and I'm still like, I don't know what's happening. I mean, I know it's happening, but I don't know what's going to happen. And I have no idea where he's going to end because it feels like it's a single book. When I read it, it was like, this isn't going to be like a series. Right. But and I might be wrong about that. You know how they do it. But I'm really enjoying it. So yes, I think you will like it for its atmosphere and like, I mean, you loved Harry Potter.
Oh yes, absolutely.
So like, you know, kind of like getting, it's a strange mix, but there's also like this real, like, if you know X-Men at all, like, and particularly the movies of X-Men, there's a whole Xavier guy and like You know what I mean? Like there's like that guy. It's interesting. And like there's a small group of kids, and then they don't talk to the other kids because they try to keep them apart. It's very good. I'm really enjoying it. And yes, that is a fatty. It is.
That's a real good fat book for you.
It is 658 pages. So I'm pretty.
That's a big one.
Do you want me to talk about my other one real quick?
You sure can.
Okay. So this one I'm actually listening to, but sometimes when I don't get to the end of a chapter when listening, I'm very happy I have the book, The Love Songs of W.E.B. Du Bois, because then I finish the chapter when I get in the house.
When you get home, yeah.
And it too is fantastic. Not a child's book. Do not listen to this in the car with your kids in the car. Bad idea.
Good to know. Good tip. Yeah.
It just turned on automatically once when the kids were in the car this weekend, and they're like, "Oh, Mom, can we listen?" No, we can't listen to that. No,
we're not listening to that.
Oh, is it too violent? I'm like, we're gonna go with that. Yeah, it's too violent. That's what we're gonna go with. But it's gotten a ton of great reviews, and so I picked it up, and I did not realize, because when everybody takes a picture, this is all you see. I had no idea that it was that when I picked it up and bought it. I mean, when I bought it, I knew it was because I carried it to the register. But then I was like, I don't know if I'm ever going to be able to start that. I'm never going to be able to get through that. So I was like, I got it. I got the Audible, which is very good. But surprisingly enough, I think I would have read this.
Yeah.
I could have. Like, if I had started it, I could have read it. Because it is a fast-paced, deeply intriguing, deeply interwoven generational trauma around the Black experience and the Black history in America. And like, it's fascinating, and it's challenging, and it's beautiful, and it's wonderfully written. The characters are great. You want to be, I mean, maybe I'm also weirdo, but I want to be friends with most of them. Well,
you are a weirdo, but I don't think that makes you weird. Other things make you weird.
At least the modern ones. I don't know. I'm not sure I would say that about some of the historical ones, but the modern ones particularly are just kind of great people. So, and also our friend Amy had also read it, and there apparently is a class that that's what she sent us. Did you not?
Oh man, I never actually clicked through that.
Oh yeah. So there's an online class this fall, and I can get the details for this if anybody wants to know about it. But like, that you can take about this particular book with Honore the known Jeffers. So the author. So, but it is really good too. And by the way, I don't know how much space you have in your bag, but I know I'm seeing you this weekend. So hopefully this one will be done, and you can probably take this one if you want it.
I was gonna buy that one. I just felt like that one, because that one was on our list for the Anti-Racist Book Fest. That one was actually on the list for that, and so I was like, I was actually thinking about purchasing that one, using purchasing power on that one.
Yeah. Like, this is a very historical fiction novel as well, sis. I think you would really like this one. Are definitely worth the purchase. So
yeah.
If you don't want to take a big fatty home, Amy also wants to read this one. So
yeah.
I was reading it at the beach yesterday, and I'm like, stop talking. I don't want to read my book. So.
Yeah. You're like, go away, everybody. I'm
reading. Go away.
I hear you.
So what else you got?
Okay. The other one that I wanted to tell everybody about was this
one,
because I've been obsessing over this one. So this one is called Kikei.
Mm-hmm.
It is by Vaishnavi Patel.
Nice.
I'm trying to get it so there's not
such a pretty cover too. Like,
it's a gorgeous cover, right? Yeah. I mean, just it's beautiful. I love it so much. So I was obsessing over this book because I saw that it was coming out. Mm-hmm. And I was like super intrigued by it, by the jacket cover, because it's basically this retelling of this legendary person, Kikei. Mm-hmm. She's one of is in one of the Hindu pantheon, right?
Oh, okay, sure.
In one of the sort of like the legends, the mythology
of Hinduism.
Of Hinduism. So, but I didn't know anything about, like, I didn't know the story. Mm-hmm. So what I ended up doing,
because you were a nerd,
was, because I had to prep, I had to do my homework before I could read the retelling. I had to like know the actual telling. So I read the actual thing, and it's the story of Rama, who has this whole story, and Kikei actually in that story has this very sort of not minor role, but a small role.
Sure.
And it was interesting. She's his mother, not his birth mother, but all the mothers and all the kids are basically each other's mothers and each other's kids in this.
Right. Sure.
In this legend. So all the moms are moms to all the kids, and all the kids think of all the moms as their mom. And what ends up happening, I'm not giving anything away. It's a legend. Everybody knows about it.
Except for those who don't, because they didn't do the pre-reading, but continue.
Well, yeah, but I'm not giving anything away in the sense that, like, I think the story of Rama started with the author saying that everyone in India knows this story.
Right.
Like he literally wrote that in the intro. So Kikei is not his birth mother, and so I think in our sort of parlance, in our language, in our sort of mythology, you could say she's sort of that evil stepmother role in that original story.
Right.
And she ends up making the situation happen where Rama, who's the hero of the story, gets sent into exile. Okay, because of some stuff that she did and some strings that she pulled and so on and so forth. So, and then her son is the one, her birth son then is the one who gets to be the ruler while Rama is in exile, right? So it's very sort of like this evil stepmother kind of thing. And that's the role that she plays in that original story, right? In this legendary story, this mythological story in the Hindu tradition. So this woman, Vaishnavi Patel, had been hearing this story her whole life, and then her mother and her grandmother had this conversation, and those two women, as Vaishnavi is listening to them talk, they have sort of different views on sort of Kikei and her role, and if she was sort of this evil stepmother, or if she was actually helping Rama come into his own by sending him away so that he could have that time to so anyway, that was kind of a long preamble, and I apologize for that, but I did my homework, and this book was worth it. It was really, really good. She did a great job. Yeah. So she rewrote this woman as a woman with history, with baggage, with motivation.
Love it.
And Vaishnavi Patel did such a good job of really making this woman complex, right? She wasn't this sort of just like, she's the evil stepmother, right? Because that's what she's always been, right? Yeah. And you understand her motivations, right? You can see why she's doing what she's doing. I mean, it is a big fatty, by the way. So, you know, there's a lot of understanding why she's doing what she's doing. But it was totally worth it. And it was really fun to hear and read this sort of this reimagining of this sort of iconic character. And this person, this mythological character who'd always been sort of casted as what we would sort of call this evil stepmother, and it's like, oh, well, there could have been a lot more going on here,
right? Than,
you know. So this retelling, it was really fun to read. I got through it pretty quick. I mean, like, it wasn't a tough read or anything, and it was just. And I was glad that I sort of read the Rama story beforehand, so I was a little bit more just familiar with the characters, and being, you know, from America, the West, in the Western, you know, culture, the names aren't as familiar to me, as it would be to someone more familiar with Hinduism and Indian culture and so on and so forth. So I was glad that I had like that little bit of. A little bit of a head start, at least with the names, you know, and that kind of stuff to get through it. But it was great. I highly recommend it. You don't really actually need to read the Rama story. Don't worry about it. Like, if you don't know it, you get it all in this book. It's just told in a different way. That's all it is. And I very much enjoyed the retelling, much more than the original story. But that's because the original story is about a man who, like, you know, saves the world, blah blah blah. Heard that a million times. Yeah, exactly. This was a story about this really sort of complex, interesting woman who's like trying to do some really important things. And I thought Vaishnavi Patel did a great job for what it's worth.
That's awesome. So, super. Yeah. I'm going to go grab the next book real quick so we can talk about that. So, I'll be right back.
Yeah. Okay, while she goes and grabs that, I will just say I just started this other book that I picked up from the library, so I won't have much to say about it yet. But it's called Circling the Sun by Paula McLean. She wrote The Paris Wife, which was out like on all the bookshops not too long ago. So this one's super interesting about this woman who actually grew up in Kenya during the colonial period. She's British and she grew up in Kenya. And she's sort of that misfit, you know, kind of running wild kind of kid who doesn't really want to conform to all the British rules and regulations and all that kind of stuff. And she leads a bit of a what's the right word? Unconventional life.
I'm like, I'm not sure I know it.
But honestly, I just started it. I just started it like today, so I'm not too far. She's still a kid in the book, so we haven't gotten too much into her unconventional life. But I'm looking forward to it. I think it's going to be a good one. So it's a historical fiction. She's a real person in real life, but this is sort of the fictionalized, novelized
version of it,
telling of her story. Yeah.
Oh, very cool. So that's what we're reading. If you want to share with us what you're reading, what you're loving right now, we love to hear that. We are always taking recommendations, even though we have a million books to read.
Even though we both have like stacks taller than us. Yeah.
Every once in a while, a great recommendation, and I'm like, let's do it. Let's get it. But so we are going to be back on the 31st, 7 o'clock Central Standard Time. So not next week, but in 2 weeks, right? I'm pretty sure that's what we decided.
Yeah, I do think that's right. Yep.
And we're going to be reading, hopefully. I'm still excited to read this book, so I think I'm going to read it anyway. But it's Richard Osman's The Thursday Murder Club.
Yeah, I think this one's going to be super fun.
I think it's going to be super fun. So it's set in England, and it's an old folks home. And it's a group of people who that love murder mysteries, and then they end up actually trying to solve a murder. A local murder that happens in their town. So it's supposed to be, I think it's supposed to be a little fun and funny and charming. I think maybe is that the right word to use? Maybe charming.
Yeah, probably. Yeah.
I will tell you.
Like a cozy murder mystery kind of thing. Yeah. That kind of genre.
I heard about this book on, oh gosh, what is it, Hattie? The British show I watch all the time.
The Night Show?
Graham Norton. Thank you. I was just like, oh my God, I just right out of my brain. Richard Osman was on there promoting this book. So it was like for a couple of years ago now, but I watch a lot of the clips of Graham Norton on YouTube when I need to laugh a lot. So, but that's actually how I found out about this book. But I have had a couple of people since we announced it tell me that they have read it and that they also do like it. And there is a second book out now too that came out, I think, 2021. So, what's it? Oh yeah, the new Thursday Murder Club mystery is The Man Who Died Twice. Came out 9/21. So yes. So I'm excited about this book. I think it's going to be fun and funny and
yes. I'm looking forward to it.
A really
I
nice
put it on hold at the library.
Oh,
see if I can get it.
Good. So, but yeah, that's what I have. I know I'm like in the middle of books right now because I'm reading really fatty ones.
Yeah, that does happen. You don't go through them nearly so quickly when they're that.
That is so true. That is so true. I did end up reading a graphic novel yesterday just because I just did. But you know me, every once in a while I just have to I just got to finish a book. So you just pick up a graphic novel and you're done in an hour and 15 minutes. So.
And people wonder why she reads more books.
I don't think anybody wonders, Hattie. I really don't think anybody wonders. I also read poetry, which is much quicker reads.
That's true. Yeah, there's like 13 words on a page.
Right. And you read like the Silk Road. So
I know. I'm going to tell you one quick little story about that because I'm still working on it, it's funny. I got through the first 3/4 of this in like 2 weeks. I was just breezing through it because it was all the ancient history. But as soon as it got into like the 19th century, which is like the 20th century, the 1900s, the last like quarter of this book, last third of this book is all modern history. And I'm like, I have to force myself to read a chapter at a time now. And I breezed through the ancient history part because I'm like, I love this. Is so great. This is so great. This is so great. And then I hit the 1900s and I'm like, oh my gosh, can we be done? So I'm going to get done, but I do have to force myself now because I'm like, Yeah, anyway, that's just how I am with history. The ancient history stuff, I just devour it and love it. And then we hit the year 1900.
And you're like,
and I'm like,
I'm done now.
I still got like 250 pages to go, and it's 1900.
You can do it. I believe in you. Maybe the conclusion will be really, really good.
I don't know. Because this is what happens. The Silk Road, and so the Silk, like the basis of the Silk Road, like the epicenter of the Silk Road, of course, is the Near East, right? So you're saying Iraq, Iran, Saudi Arabia, and so once you get to 1900, it's all about oil. I've literally been reading about oil for the last 100 pages, and I've got another 150 pages to go about oil.
So you might. Sorry, I can't help you with that. That is just what happens. I apologize.
The first like 3/4, first 2/3, 3/4, amazing. I loved it.
Just remember that when you finish it, that you did love most of the book.
I did. And I really, really did. Now it just hit the time frame that I'm just like,
I don't care.
I don't care.
Yeah.
This is all a bunch of money grubbing men all over the world trying to make more money and exploit people.
Yeah.
So anyway, I digress. Sorry about that. I did not need to go there.
That's okay. I brought up the Silk Road. That was my fault. That was my fault.
The Silk Road, yeah.
So that was my fault. So thank you all for joining us. For those of you who did.
On that happy note.
On that happy note, and we will be discussing the Thursday Murder Club in 2 weeks. If you want to read it along with us, we would love to have you do that. Remember to like and subscribe, as they say. But if you do go to our website, www.thebookwar.com. Don't know why that was so hard for me.
That was a tough one.
You can also subscribe to our monthly newsletter, which tells you kind of like what we're reading, what we're going to be reading for the next month. And it's just once a month that we send that out. So, yeah, we'd love to have you join the Book War community. So thank you so much. And everybody have a really great night.
Bye, everybody.
Love you, sis.
Love you, Han.
All right, we'll see you next week.
Okay.
Okay, bye.
Bye-bye.